now will go on the stream. So that's kind of lame. There's the green button. So I'm going to yell at everybody. It's Monday. Here it comes.
Get those words!
Well, all that screaming and yelling, it's time for, it's Monday, and it's time for
Chaos.
Big Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day and all the automotive enthusiast auction sites like Bring a Trailer Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, Rad for Sale, Hemmings, and whoever the heck else has an auction site. That's what we do. We nerd out on all the cars on those websites. My name is John Polnik. I'm your host, coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, as well as my partner, Michael Deeb, coming to you live from San Francisco, right? San Francisco. Is that where you are today? San Francisco? You're a traveling guy.
Yeah, back.
Yeah,
I put some miles on the cars this weekend.
Nice.
We did the Breakfast Club rally with Yuri Sinakis and his entourage of absolutely fabulous guys. We had a blast. His best buddy John was there, and did just laughing and great cars, and I don't know. We really had a good time. It really is unfair to keep calling it a drive. I know the cars are in motion, but you can't really get after it. There's just so many cars on the route, but the routes are fantastic. The people are nice, and the cars are incredible. What an event. Holy mackerel. A lot of cars. JP, 250, 300 cars. Easy.
That's an event that's sponsored by Haggerty Insurance. Is that right?
No.
Nope.
Haggerty bought the rally. These guys started in June during the pandemic to try and come up with a creative way that people could gather while social distancing. Well, let's just get in our cars and drive. So we're together, but we're not, bridging the recommendations and things like that. Mm-hmm. So they put this thing together up in Sonoma and Marin in June last summer. And in February of this year, which means they operated this thing for like 7 or 8 months, Haggerty bought the rally and the website and, whatever the assets are as far as the logo and some swag. And it's just unbelievable how much it's grown. It's really incredible. Anyway.
That's awesome. It's great to get out and get your classic cars out there, and it's really cool to see people bringing all kinds of classic cars out. It seems like it used to be just Porsches going out and driving them, but now people are getting, as younger people are getting into some of these classics, I like to see people actually using them. It seems like that's kind of, I think all these auction sites are kind of contributing to that because more people are getting into this type of stuff.
Yeah, it's really fun, and it is in the younger generation. It's a great representation. So Yuri's got a friend named Fred. Fred's got a couple of kids. One of them's named Casey, and Casey has a base 944 that we were chasing each other a couple of rallies ago when I had the 190. And Casey's a really nice kid. And so I saw Casey on this rally. He comes running up to me. He goes, Mike, check it out, man. I got sway bars for my 944. And he had a smile from ear to ear. And I was like, awesome, man. I'm gonna like saddle up behind you and you can show me what you got. And he was flying. He was absolutely having a blast. It was really, really cool. Yeah, but great. I mean, just to see what a pair of sway bars did for this kid's like attitude for the day, he was on fire. I mean, he's absolutely one of us. He's gonna be a future bid nerd for sure.
It's like, hey, Dad, look, I'm into horrible decisions and bad investments.
I'm never getting this money back.
Oh my
but while
God.
I have my car, I love it even more.
Yeah,
and he's got just like a run of the mill black manual 944, and he could not be happier. And when he couldn't wait to tell me he had new sway bars, and I was so excited for him, and I was like, I bought new sway bars for my 192, and it was really funny. We were cracking up. So we started at
you guys
lunch.
were simpatico, yeah.
Literally, we're talking about like the millimeter upgrade from the front and the back on his car versus the millimeter upgrade on the back in front of my car, and we were just like geeking out. And then we divulged into sim racing games because I have a play seat. He's got the full setup, so he's like, "Oh, we're gonna get online and play." So it was really fun. But, generation gap was bridged over the weekend. It was great.
Kids, here's the thing: don't do classic cars. Just do drugs. It's way cheaper. You'll meet better people.
Exactly.
And, you won't have to hang out with losers like this. I mean, it's just like, Clearly bad decisions. All right, well, let's get into the cars. So if you're just joining us, if you've never been to the Bid Nerd Show and this is your first time, what we do is we pick a bunch of the most interesting cars that are showing up on the different auction sites. You go to, you probably cruise, bring a trailer, Cars and Bids. You're checking those sites every day, kind of seeing what's for sale, like we do because we're car nerds. And it's kind of cool to watch all the, see what kind of crazy stuff pops up. So we like to find the cars that maybe not so obscure or maybe not the most expensive cars, but just the cars that we think are the most interesting ones, and we talk about them. We take suggestions from you guys in the audience, and we talk about those cars as well. But what we really do, once we kind of nerd out about the cars, then we make predictions as to what we think they'll actually sell for, and that's where the rubber hits the road. And we make those predictions, and at the start of every show, we review the previous day's predictions and see how we did. And Michael Deeb and I, we do a little competition to see which one of us is better at it, and it goes back and forth, but it tends to be fairly even. I had a pretty good week last week, though.
Oh,
I recall.
Man, I think it might be the most lopsided week we've ever had. And on Friday, to make matters worse, we had Third Nerd and my favorite punching bag, Bradley Brannell, on. And boy, talk about the Empire Strikes Back.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, he got 3 of them, including a Yahtzee. Thank goodness, because he's not really one of the founders of the program. His scores don't count, because if they did, that would have been humiliating for both of us. But Bradley did really well in guessing. But you had another great day. With 4 wins to my 1. Our star car on the weekend was the what was the star car? Oh, it
wasn't even his car. Yeah,
it was our first motorcycle ever on Rad for Sale in honor of Bradley Brannell. This is the Top Gun special. We're talking about the 85 Cali Ninja 900 on Rad for Sale. And you know what's interesting, JP? This car was sitting at $1,500 for 2 weeks, and I was just like, I felt so bad. We had Bradley on. He's got they're growing an audience despite having, a fantastic following with their other, with the shows. The auction platform is still new for them. And so I was like, look, man, if it gets up to $3,700, you're right in the range where this guy should have set the reserve. That'd be the low end for this bike, but it's probably a $4,500 to $6,000 bike. And he goes, yeah, I agree with you. You confidently took the over and said $4,500, which I thought was very nice. I honestly thought you were pandering it to Bradley. Well, this thing had a great late rally, and it sold on Rad for Sale for $7,500, which I would say is perilously close to all the money for that motorcycle. I would say $8,000 for this bike, and if some moron just was like had to have the gun thing, would $10,000, but that's the value of the motorcycle is $7,500,000. So congratulations to Rad for Sale. Congratulations to the consignor. And congratulations to the new owner of the bike. That's fantastic. And when the movie drops later this year, that bike's going to be hot property again. So I think that's a really good purchase. Well done to everybody, including you, because you won that one, you son of a gun.
Yeah, Bradley texted me later in the afternoon because I had looked at it not long after the show just to see if there was anything, and there was nothing. It was still, I was going, God, do I bid on this thing? Do I buy a freaking Ninja for $1,800 or something?
That would be so awesome.
I don't
with
even know
Rochelle
what I would do with it. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
We've kind of sworn off motorcycles, but that would be so dope. Yeah. So
even if Lee just took photo for one afternoon, you get your money's worth.
Dude, that'd be so much fun. Rochelle looks good. I don't. So, anyways,
Rochelle's curly blonde hair and a pair of tight jeans and a bomber jacket on the
she
back.
She could totally rock the 80s look. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
But whatever. And then he texts me a couple hours later. He's like, "Are you seeing what's going on with this motorcycle?" And I looked. I'm like, "Holy crap!" I mean, $7,500 is just absurd. All the money for this bike. It's absurd.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it's great. I love that happened. I bet we're gonna see a ton of '80s bikes popping up for sale.
I hope so. I absolutely hope so. Imagine some Hurricanes and stuff like that. Would be really cool to see those come forward. GSRs, it'd be amazing. So we jump over to what's his name? Doug DeMiro's site. Cars and Bids had a 1992 Porsche 968 with 100,000 miles on it in red and tan. And I guessed 22, which was a little bit high. You guessed 18, and Bradley guessed 19. The car sold for $19,000. So technically you won, and Bradley essentially got a Yahtzee. But what's amazing is when I was looking at results at the end of the day, I had saved a 1992 Porsche 968 on Bring a Trailer. And I got an email at the end of the day that said that car sold for $34,250. And I was like,
Whoa.
I won that one. I'm like, I won that one. It's red tan, 1992 968, but it's only got 57,000 miles on it, basically half the miles.
Yeah.
And that car sold for almost twice the money, which is really incredible to see how platform and mod sensitive. Obviously, the condition was a little better. Probably didn't have scratched up cup wheels and that sort of thing. But JP, the identical twin to that car, and it really threw me off. I had to do some forensics accounting of our Google Doc to figure out what the heck was going on. Turned out two of identical cars, and I'm bummed that I didn't catch it earlier, and we could have covered both cars. It would have been really fun to juxtapose. But that lower mile car on BAT sold for $34,250, 19 for our car on Cars and Bids. People, you might be leaving money on the table. We're not bashing Doug DeMuro's site, but like step up your game or you're going to lose, It's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, interesting to note. I kept some notes so we could talk about it, but there you go. We also had Bradley on. We covered a Chrysler Conquest TSI. It was a good day to have him on. This was an 88 white with sort of that burgundy interior, mostly original car. With some miles, but it was in Florida, which I think kind of turned us all off. Yep. It didn't look like it spent a lot of time in an indoor garage, that kind of thing. So I said 10 grand, you said 9,900, and Bradley took the under, which I thought was pretty strong move. He went 8,750. This car failed to sell at $7,800. And just didn't even offer us a viable juxtaposition against the car that Rad for Sale had offered at the very beginning of their thing, which was like 8 days ago. Right. So, and that didn't bring the money either. So, listen, as Japanese cars really gained some traction in the secondary market for the auction space, or how to say, as collector cars, I would think these Chrysler Mitsubishi collaborations are going to be some of the last ones to come up in value. They'd be the first to fall if you bought one new, so they're going to be the last ones to come up, I would think. So it'll be a while before we see these as having $10,000 or $20,000 value. It's going to be a while. But anyway, it was interesting to look at that one. It can go anywhere. Yeah. Also on Bring a Trailer, JP, we looked at a 2001 Ford Lightning in black, which I thought the color helped the car. I said 35 grand. You said 32, and Bradley couldn't bring himself to bid on this. It's funny because he said $28,000. He'd spend 28 on a van again, that's for sure. This car sold for $34,500. You and I were actually both close because it landed in between our two bids, but I missed the Yahtzee by $500. My one bright spot for the day, my only win. And then our last car was nominated by brand new friend of the Bid Nerds. He's just discovered that you and I are doing the channel and is watching. That is Ron DeVogel. A petition for this 1967 Mini Cooper, Morris Mini Cooper S Speedster, basically Sprint, call it. A chopped roof, and it's been around a bunch of different design houses and had custom work done. And back in period, late 60s, early 70s, this was everything if you lived in London to take your run-of-the-mill English car and then go get it tailor-made. And then our friend Justin Jurgens, this was his father's car, and he's the one that is selling it. So this was just a really interesting car for us to look at. It did not find an audience on Bring a Trailer. So I said 90 grand. Hoping along with Justin that this car would meet its reserve and find a new home. You said 75, and Bradley Brunell said 65. This car got a little bit of love late, but didn't come near its reserve, and so it failed to sell at $63,500 for your fourth win of the day, your 19th win of the week compared to my sixth. Wow. Absolutely the most lopsided week of them all. My only bright spot is that I had a Yahtzee earlier in the week, and I can't even remember what it was on. The Oldsmobile Starfire.
That's right. You got the Monza thing and the.
Proving once again, we have no idea what we're doing. That's talking about stepping it. That was the lucky guess. The Monza Starfire brought no education to that bid, but that was my Yahtzee, and that was it. We had no draws, and you didn't grab a Yahtzee, or you came really close a handful of times. But JP, that week was all you. Well done, my friend.
Oh, thanks, man. It does help going second, but even having that, we're usually pretty close. But that was pretty darn lopsided. I'm gonna tell you, Michael Deeb, why don't you change your battery on your
Oh yeah,
Gizmo
let me
thing?
see
And
if
while
I-
he's doing that, I will tell
on,
you
on
guys to
the
hit the
side.
subscribe button and hit the notification button. We do this every single day. This is the daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids, Bring a Trailer, P Car Market, Hemmings, Rad for Sale. When we started this, there were really only one or two auction sites. There was Doug DeMero's site and there was Bring a Trailer, and that was pretty much it. But now it seems like there's a ton of them, and every day there's even more. So we're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to show you a video. Let's see if we can find the video. Oh, wait, no, we're not going to do that because I don't have it handy. Let's see here. Is this one? Let's see what that is.
Get those nerds! Nerds!
No, that was just a bumper for you guys. I thought I had some cool video to show you guys, trying to do something to fill time while Michael does his. Here, have you guys seen our Bid Nerds commercial?
If you don't subscribe
Here we go. We're
to
gonna
Bid
show the
Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm going to shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds.
Get those nerds!
So did that get you? A lot of people, they tell us they see that, and it gets them every time because they're like, that's not a 997. What are you talking about? And that's exactly right. If you said that's a 997, you're a nerd, and that's why you're one of our people. We're still waiting for Michael Deeb to change his battery. He's coming. He's back. I hear something going on.
So I'm still here, and we're gonna have to tough through this because I ordered batteries last week and they haven't arrived yet.
Okay, all right. Well, no battery replacement going to happen. All right. Well, let's get to the cars today.
Apologies.
You guys have all subscribed and liked and hit all those buttons. So let's hear. So that was yesterday's cars. Let's get to today's cars. The star car of the day is a big car that is a car that, I mean, it's one of our all-time favorites. You just can't go wrong when it comes to a Porsche 996 twin turbo. Check that out.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, look at this. Doug DeMero has found for us, JP, a 2002 turbo out of Morriston, New Jersey with just 57,000 miles on it. I actually love the dark blue, that sort of navy blue metallic paint job. I'm not a huge fan of that light gray interior. It's got the 18-inch turbo twist wheels, and it's a manual transmission, which makes this car. This was essentially the first forced induction Metzger engine that you could buy in the United States. And for years, these have languished in value. And only in the last, what would you say, JP, 2 to 4 years of these cars really started to creep up in value and bring somewhat decent money. However, I think you and I would both agree that these still remain probably the best performance value in the used Porsche marketplace. And this one, by all accounts, looks like a very nice car. A couple of minor modifications to the gearbox, not the gearbox, I should say the shifter. So the 997 transmission mounts have been adopted to this car, and the 997 shifter linkage and stuff has also been adopted to this car. It has an original equipment Porsche wood shifter knob and wood parking brake handle and an Alpine head unit. Otherwise, what you're looking at is a bone stock car with less than 1,000 miles off out of New Jersey. JP, our car got 18 to love overnight, but is still sitting on 14 bids at just $43,500. I want one bad. I just think it would be an absolute blast drive. Would feel, even if it's like 20 years old, these still drive like modern cars because the suspension is so good and the air conditioning works and they have so much power. It doesn't feel like a 20-year-old car. And I just think this would be a great value because by all accounts, something with this much power should be, you would think it would be like a $100,000 car, and they're just not. So the big question now is the platform also going to play a role in what is already a good value for a car. Now you're on a platform where you might pick up a deal. So what do you think, JP? Is somebody going to rip this thing? Where do you think the consignor might have set the reserve?
Yeah, this car is probably going to go for good money. Probably it'll be one of the better auctions for Cars and Bids because Cars and Bids just does not bring the money. This car would definitely bring more if it were on Bring a Trailer. And frankly, might even bring more money on P-Car Market given that it's in New Jersey. P-Car Market seems to really favor cars that are on the East Coast, and that's it. Everywhere else, they pretty much fail miserably. This car is going to be hard. This is a hard car to love. It looks beautiful on the outside. The blue isn't my favorite color, but it's I mean, it really is a pretty car. But this gray interior, the 996 interior design, although more not aesthetically but ergonomically better than the 997, aesthetically not so much. And when it's in all black, it kind of hides the 90s-ness of it. But you get in this gray color, and it just makes it all just in your face. I mean, that is just not someplace that you really want to hang out. You're going to be having so much fun that you'll forget how ugly the dashboard and everything is. I think it's really, really, really going to hurt it. Absolutely still the best bang for the buck when it comes to performance on almost not just Porsches, but probably any car. I don't know, for $50,000, I don't know what you get that's going to have this kind of performance in just straight up straight line power and handling and all the things.
Coilovers and an ECU flash would make this a supercar beater. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. And then the other, to add to this, one last thing about the 996 platform, especially the turbo body or like the C4S, which adopts the turbo body. You and I are a couple of ass men, and this car has one of the prettiest rear ends in all of automotive history. So it's an attractive car. I love the color, but I with you, that interior is a deal breaker. I wouldn't want to own it. I would sell it and then try to buy one that fits, what I want from an aesthetic standpoint. Yeah. Still a really nice car.
Yep. But if you want to get, if you're talking about bang for the buck and best value, if you can live with this color, if this color doesn't insult your sensibilities, then hey, more power to you. You're going to get an opportunity to get a really awesome car. I feel it's kind of like, cabriolets and stuff like that. Cabrios go for so much less than coupes that it's lucky for folks like me who like convertibles because, hey, we get just as great a car, if not better, in our opinion, for way less money. I think this car, if you could live with that color, I am definitely a gray phobe, I guess I would call myself. That God, that is so ugly in there. Yuck. That's an gross interior. All right, so where's it gonna land? Beautiful car, great car, but yeah,
50 Shades of nah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, listen, JP, if this thing were on Bring a Trailer, I'd say we're looking at a $65,000 car. If the miles were low or it had a black interior, then you might consider it in the 70s. But on Cars and Bids, I don't think it's going to break 60 grand. This car should bring another $15,000. I don't feel confident in my guess here this morning, but I'm going to say 58. Only because the car is in nice condition. It is on the East Coast, where I think there's a decent audience for it.
Where is it sitting at right now? What's the number?
It's at 43,500. So I'm hoping, this car should get another $15,000. But it's only got an hour and 10 minutes left, and Cars and Bids doesn't do late rallies. However, this is a broad appeal car. I mean, this is the enthusiast moneymaker. So if
they are going to get a late rally, it's going to be on something like this. I mean, we saw last week that Cayenne manual. That thing brought all kinds of money.
It did do good.
Yeah,
it did do good. Yeah,
and it was all on the late stage rally. So you said what? 47, 48?
So it's at 43.5. I think it makes another 15 grand and brings $58,000. And I am not very confident.
58. Whoa, yeah.
That's what it should.
That's
what it's worth.
I'm gonna say, and it's at 43 now.
43.5 now on 14 bids. Yeah, hour and 10 minutes to go.
I don't think it breaks.
It's a tough
50.
one.
I'm going 49,999.
Ooh, I think I'm going to win this one just because you're way off.
I think it's worth more than that, but I don't know. Cars and Bids. I know it'll get a late rally, but I don't know if it'll get that much of a late rally. That might give you a star. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, let's go. What's the next car? What do we got?
All right, JP, let's have some fun and go over to Bring a Trailer and look at this no reserve 1974 Volkswagen thing. This car is also in Morriston, but Florida, not New Jersey. How weird is that? Two cars from Morriston, different parts of the East Coast, and you and I both laughed because one of us who Morriston was, that he has several towns named after him on the Eastern Seaboard. But this car, true mileage unknown, it has a replacement motor, a replacement 1800 1776cc flat four. It's a 4-speed manual. These are 2-wheel drive, which I've learned since started doing the show with you. I think I just always assumed as all-terrain vehicles that they were all-wheel drive. And man, did I get my lunch handed to me when I said that on air one time. Yellow with black vinyl. And this is, JP, I want you to really kind of take over this one. But like, this to me looks like one of those, what we call a 10-foot car. Like from 10 feet away, it's like, oh, look at that thing. It's so cute. I wanted one, or I had one, or my buddy JP owned one, and we both were mad at him for selling it. Da, 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 da. But then I don't know. It seems like the closer you get to this car, you see that it, and this is the problem with a lot of Volkswagens from this era. They just haven't been kept up really well. And I saw a lot of bolts and pieces that looked like they had surface corrosion, and I don't know, panel gaps aren't great. I don't know what you'd expect from a Volkswagen thing, because most of these are just plot around it. But what we have seen is that restored versions of these cars are bringing, $30,000. I just think this is one of them. So tell me if I'm seeing it correctly, JP. I like listening to you talk about these cars because you know them so well.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate that. It's not that it's actually in better shape than I thought when you had mentioned that earlier before the show. Look, these weren't very well put together in the first place. This is definitely a repaint, so you can see some kind of like dripping on there. You can see some of the seals that weren't removed when they repainted it. Some of the seals between the fenders should have been black, but they just painted over them. It's something you kind of see a lot of times on 911s too. Sorry guys, I'm going to change something here.
JP, do they come with dual carbs if they had a flat four? Is that normal for them to have?
No. They're all, they should have come with it. They all come with a 1600, just a really basic single port 1600 engine. So it's nothing exciting at all. To put the bigger engine in it is nice. It'll definitely give it a little bit more poop, and that's kind of what you want.
And will the dual carb setup also help in that equation? Like give it a little more stink than even just the 1800 or 200 cc upgrade?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be better than the original engine. The dual carbs will give it a little bit more pop in the low end. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult to tune when those get out of sync. This is one of the things that's kind of cool, and this has the stock brush guard. Those are really rare. This piece of steel that's on the front bumper. And then the little rally lights on there. And let's see here, look into the back. It does have different, you never see them with the correct exhaust, and it looks like this one actually has it. The exhaust ports are coming out of the bumper. They got the little holes in the bumper, which is kind of fun. Usually, but those are long gone. This is a neat car. Now, this is a 74, not a 73. So the 74s have what they call the earmuffs, which is the little the bulges over the rear vents that kind of suck air into the back to keep that engine a little bit more cool. These also have just a standard heat exchanger like most Volkswagen Beetles. The 73s, they only brought these in 73 and 74, the American ones. The 73s have a gasoline powered heater in the front, which is quite terrifying when you think about it. They really don't like those at all. They never work anyway. This one does seem to be all around really nice. The top looks good and functional, and the wing windows and all that kind of stuff. All the windows, you just kind of like slide them into the doors, kind of like a Jeep Wrangler with the slider windows, and those are always roached out. So even though this one is not very original, it seems to be pretty darn clean. The interior looks really nice. This looks like a fun driver. Yeah, look at those windows. Finding the frames for these is next to impossible. It looks like there's a couple little tears in the top, whatever. I mean, this is just a great driver. You're never driving this thing with a top up. I mean, nobody's driving this thing with a top up. You drive this thing with the windshield down like this, and the top down.
That's the air conditioning unit, right? When you put the
that is
windshield
correct.
down?
On full blast. Yeah, it's climate control. You gotta love it. He's got a tachometer bolted to a block of wood in the glove box there, if you could call it a glove box. The thing about these, there's no, looking at the hinges and where the windshield, there's no major rust in the places that you'd be really scared. We haven't seen underneath yet, but it looks to be all there. This would be a great driving drive around car. You know, it's funny. You talk about we talked about the Porsche 996 Turbo being one of the best all-around performance bangs for the buck. I mean, that is probably best handling, driving, all the greatest things that you talk about a car. This is the opposite. This car handles horribly, has no power, is not aerodynamic. It's just a clunky piece of junk by the numbers, but almost as fun to drive as the Turbo, and you'll get way more looks and make more friends.
It's so difficult to quantify, and I think you and I we go down that road every couple of weeks where we talk about, and sometimes it's literally about the Volkswagen thing, but occasionally it's on another car. Whereas in every performance measurable category compared to the 996 Turbo, it's hard to believe that this thing operates with like internal combustion and that they're similar. But it's the fun factor that it gets the same score. They both get 10s, and that's what makes these things so unique and so interesting. And they can literally go anywhere. I mean, it's actually like a pair of tennis shoes. You could just leave them outside in the rain, and they're just as good the next day. So,
look at that shift pattern. I don't know if you guys could see that. Look at the shift pattern on the dashboard there, up there on the sticker. If ever there's been a more accurate shift pattern kind of diagram, it's like first is over here, second is over here, third is over here, and fourth, well, it's there sometimes. I mean, it's just the most ridiculous sporadic thing. But you got to shift them by braille. It's like two fingers. You just touch the thing, and you just like it's like you go from first to then someplace kind of, and then second, and it's just like it's a process. It's not a procedure. I love driving these. They're so much fun. Where's it at, and where's it going to land?
Gotta get another one. All right, Pete. Morriston, Florida. True mileage unknown. Replacement 1800cc motor with dual carbs and a manual. Made better condition than I had suspected. It's gotten some love overnight too. So it jumped up from like $15,000 to almost $18,000 overnight. It's at $17,750. JP, it's got an hour and 10 minutes to go. It also has 24 bids, so this car is getting some love. I had originally put $20,000, but after watching the car again with you, I still don't think it's going to be like in that $27,000 range or pushing $30,000. But I do think it's going to get maybe a few more dollars. So from $20,000, JP, I'm going to raise my bid to $23,000 and hopefully put it to you, make it more difficult for you to pick.
This has a lot of eyeball. I think already it's priced too high. The repaint, I think means it shouldn't. I mean, this is a nice driver thing, and they are getting a little bit harder to find. We are going into the season for these. Everybody wants these for the summer.
That's
so
the right time of year to sell, right?
And it looks like the powertrain is perfect. It looks like
KYB shocks.
Yeah, some great stuff under here. But I don't. I'm going to say 21. I'll be surprised.
That's a good guess.
20,
yeah, you're right there.
But yeah, it's already. I mean, boy, it's coming from Florida. There's some surface rust there that hasn't gotten bad yet. But if you bring this to a place where there's any moisture at all, you better pay attention to that underside and get it coated. And, yeah, because that is borderline. You
don't want to fall through the floor while you're driving, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's all still solid. I mean, if you brought that to the desert, you'd be fine. But if you bring that to California or something like that, where there's still moisture in the air, you're going to have some issues. Look at that; it comes with a roll bar too. It is way more safe to have the roll bar in there, but it looks dookie, and I screw safety. I'm with the owner of this, no roll bar, but that's cool that it comes with it. So if you do want to buy it, you can have one. All right, that is one of the most fun cars that you could possibly own in the world.
The Porsche Type 181. Is that just the most big nerdy thing ever?
Yeah, that's correct. That is the automotive equivalent of a puppy. If you don't like it and it doesn't make you smile, you're a bad person. There it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to something that is lame. What's that?
You did say something really cute. You said if you don't like meeting people, don't buy one of these because everybody's going to talk to you if you're in that car.
Yeah. This is the car to make friends in. Unlike a Turbo where you just piss everybody off in that 996 because you're going to eat their lunch on all the performance drives and everyone thinks you're a douchebag at the parking garage. The thing, everyone's just going to tell you their story, and everyone has a story. Let me tell you. Oh my God, when it comes to things. All right, let's talk about this Buick. You're the resident American muscle car guy. Apparently.
Oh my God.
This is
so
you.
Not true. I didn't even know what a Chevy K5 Blazer was. All right, see what we're looking at. I tell everybody in the world, I don't care. I don't know them. I've always thought they were really cool, especially Buick made these things. This is a 1987 Buick Grand National. What we're looking at here out of Indian Orchard, Massachusetts, is a 17,000 mile example, although it is true mileage unknown because it's only a 5-digit odometer. The car does look pretty clean, but I'm not really getting underneath it. And these photos, despite looking like it's in a studio, they do not really tell a very truthful story. So it's difficult to see. What makes these things so cool, you might ask, is that the 3.8 liter V6 that probably came in most of these things, this one's turbocharged, and it has a limited slip differential, and it's got 15-inch, slightly wide alloy wheels. These are basically like homologation specials for drag racing, and they're really cool. They only have a 4-speed automatic, but they're really neat. Now, there is some confusion, at least there was for me. This is a Buick Grand National, but it's not the GNX. So despite our car being a Grand National with the forced induction 3.8 liter V6 that makes 245 horsepower and a whopping 355 horsepower, it's not the GNX, which is like the holy grail of these things. Now, the Grand National's rare. JP, they only made 547 of these things. But the GNX are like ungodly. They're 6-figure cars at this point. And that's because the horsepower climbs from, is up 55 horsepower to 300. And then the torque is up from 355 to 420. And that's why the GNXs bring like $100,000. Our car is sitting, JP, at like $35,000, which again is up from the $26,000 it was at last night. So this is probably going to come in and around like a $50,000 car. But if it was a GNX, which is even more stout, then those are the cars that are close to 100 grand, and they look identical. I think if you park them side by side, I don't know how you distinguish the difference between the two, but this is still a very, very special car on its own. Like if you just judge it against itself, this is an unbelievable car from an era when American cars were like, they could not have been more boring and have poorer build quality. This one has a beefed up suspension and this incredible beast of it. It's just, it probably has lived its life in the shadow of its like almost exotic old brother, which is the GNX, that has all that crazy 300 and 420 horsepower and torque. It makes it like, it embarrasses supercars. It's something that could go in a straight line almost as quick as our favorite Porsche Turbo on the other side. So here you go, JP, out of Indian Orchard, Massachusetts, an 87 Grand National with just 17,000 miles, and looks by all accounts is staring, $40,000, almost $50,000 right in the face. And I don't even think that this car is in particularly good condition. It's entirely possible it does have 117,000 miles on it. What do you think?
The cow farming douchebag meatheads in high school loved these stupid cars.
Yep.
They gushed about them. They thought they were the greatest thing. When their mom got one, they would bring it out to the cruising strip and stuff like that. And it was just they'd steal it from their dad or whatever. And I just do not get it. I think this is the stupidest looking car. I don't care how fast I just don't care. It's just hideously ugly. It's great that it has performance, and that's neat, I suppose. Whatever. The people I think that like these are all dying. This is the last of the boomer cars. This is like boomers just hanging on with the thread of their nails, trying to. I mean, this is just it's repulsive. It's repugnant. It's all the bad R words. This is just such a disgusting, stupid looking car, and I have no respect for anyone who wants to drive one of these. How's that for? Do I like it? I'll tell you what I really think. No, I mean, great.
I'm getting a text. I'm going to get a text from cousin Mark any minute about how much you hate this car. He's going to crack up.
Make the memes, guys. Yeah.
Think about this, JP. In 1987, we hadn't even received our first ZR1. So we're right at the beginning of production of C4 Corvettes, which were 140, 150 mile an hour cars. And made like 300 horsepower. This car would have been quicker down the strip in a straight line. And then a Porsche Turbo only had a 4-speed back then, and crazy turbo lag. And again, this car, arguably as quick, if not as fast, down the straight line. Now, these cars do not go left and right.
Yeah, the cars you just described don't look like the cars that I had to sit in the back of while,
on my way to school.
When I was being taken to Cub Scouts and my buddy's parents are just chain smoking, for 45 minutes. minutes
best.
driving. Yeah, whatever Buick BS car it was. I mean, I couldn't tell you the difference between any Buicks, to be perfectly honest. Hey, I like this one has T-tops, I guess. If I had to say something, I mean, that would be kind of fun, I suppose, but just so stupid. All right. How much is this thing worth? Huh?
My dad didn't really like my mom, and he bought her an Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, and that was the car she was driving. I want to say it was like an 85 or something. That was the car she was driving while I was in high school. And so that's a car I would not steal, but borrow all the time when I had my driving permit. It was like a rear bound metallic with a pigeon interior, and it had no power. It was guts. Power steering, which means you could whip it around left and right. But my favorite line was from the movie Fletch when he talked about the attorney representing his ex-wife who was there to collect alimony. And he said, "Oh, the familiar lawyer of the former Mrs. Fletch, F. Fletch, or whatever. I recognize his Oldsmobile in the front of my house." And I always thought that was really funny because my Oldsmobile and that Buick look like the exact same car. JP, I think that this car has a chance to get to $42,000. It's R35. It's got 2 hours and 40 minutes to go. So I'm going to leave my bid right where I parked it at $42,000. What about you?
Where's it at now again?
35. It was at 26 overnight. This car, there are. I know you and I like it, but
I'm sure there's people that like them, but I'm not. I'm going 39. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of dipshits out there that somebody wants this. It's probably going to go over that, but I just look. You know what? You know why I'm so offended by this car? It's just that this represents the era of American car making where it's like the ultimate hubris. They just weren't listening to everyone. All the signs, the writing was on the wall. It wasn't just like in small script that you had to like, what's that say on the wall? It was like billboards everywhere that said, "You're doing it wrong, America." The Germans were doing it better. The Japanese were doing it better. The Swedes were doing it better. Everybody was just making American cars a laughing stock. And the fact that America was like, "Oh, let's make a Buick with I mean, just it's like, what were you guys thinking? This is so stupid.
Oh yeah, I didn't even mention the T-tops. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I like about the car, and even that's lame. It's like, geez, man. Yeah.
JP, I thought you were going to say it was the height of American arrogance, and I was going to agree with you.
Right,
that's the word I thought you were going to say.
Yeah,
and you're right. It's like no focus group went into this. Yeah. 2 engineers got a hold of somebody in product design and begged them to build it, and I commend them for at least building something with a motor. But by no accord does this car appeal to the masses. They were garbage cars back then. Yeah. It's hard to believe a Ford Taurus was a much more modern looking car. I mean, just crazy. Sure. Yeah. So anyways, I agree with you. Not much there.
All right. So yeah, moving on from that hideous pile of crap. What do we got? We got something cool. Tell me we got something cool. Because we need to just like cleanse our palate after that disgusting.
Here's a car I didn't even know Porsche had made on this platform until I met you. That's how out of touch I was. We're talking about a 2004. Basically, end of the generation of the 996, but Porsche made a 911 Targa. This one has a 6-speed manual offered to us out of Fishers, Indiana. Our car has just 2,000 miles on it, which means it's basically been hermetically sealed. This car is brand spanking new. Now, what's interesting, and I've learned through my time at Godden and my collab with you, is these cars are essentially built on 911 Cabriolet platforms, and what they do is bolt on a hardtop that has a sliding oversized glass panel roof. So you have perhaps you give away some structural integrity. You're probably a little heavier than any of the other platforms that this generation of 911 were built on. But what you have is a rather unique, and certainly by the production numbers, because JP, I looked it up, and that makes this car one of just 508. And I would also venture a guess that by this time frame, of that 508, a substantial number of them were offered with an automatic, a Tiptronic transmission. So the fact that this car is a manual is makes it, still fun to drive. Listen, it's not going to be the best 996 out there, but it's also not going to be the worst. It's with a 6-liter motor. It's got 320 horsepower and 273 pound-foot torque. It would not be my first choice, but it certainly wouldn't be my last. And with just 2,000 miles, this car is probably going to bring a ridiculous number. That being said, we have a lot of faith in the platform because the car is still languishing around the $40,000 mark. which would represent the top of the market for a nice 996. But I suspect that this car is in for a late flurry in about 3 hours from now when this lot closes, because of the 2,000 miles and because 996 have been gaining, ground in the collector market. And I suspect, JP, this car is going to blow right past $50,000 and bring big money. Do you agree?
Yeah, shame on the owner of this car. I mean, shame. If you're watching this, you are leaving money on the table. I would have passed right over this thinking it was just a regular old run-of-the-mill 996 Targa because the pictures are so lame. This looks like an ad for one that has 120,000 miles on it. It just looks like a Craigslist ad level of photos. This is a special car. I mean, with 2,000 miles on it, this car, there aren't any of these. All the 996s that were kind of base 996 Targas like this got driven hard, put away wet. Right. This is not a car that was preserved by anyone, and here it is. This car deserves special treatment. It deserves special photography. It deserves an ad that rises to the level and the occasion that this car represents.
Well said.
I'm just like, man, I just want to slap the guy in the face. This is stupid. I will say that as a 996 owner, or someone who's owned many of them, 2,000 miles is kind of scary because there were a lot of things that went wrong with these early on, and I always talk about this kind of stuff that those are things that would have been taken care of by the manufacturer under the warranty. So you're going to have to replace the camshaft seals and the rear main seal and all kinds of stuff. Never mind the intermediate shaft bearing that everyone talks about. But with a car like this that's so this is a collector car at this point, so it's probably not even going to get driven. So it really doesn't matter if you're going to run into maintenance issues because it's just going to be stored somewhere anyway.
Terrible that that's a true thing to say.
Yeah. But I mean, what the hell is up with these pictures, dude? You can't even straighten out your stupid wheel. I mean, and I don't really like these wheels.
Yeah, they're not my favorite wheels, but I like that it doesn't have the tufted leather on the seats.
It's just it's base. No leather dash. It's got the crests, and that's about it. I hate these wheels. I don't know why Porsche made these, and those were the early GT3
996. Yeah,
they're just
JP,
a factory wheel. Ugh.
It's also worth mentioning this car was $85,000. It was brand new. So somebody dropped $85,000 to park this thing in the garage because they never drove it.
Is this a car dealership selling this thing?
Oh,
look at it. Here it is on a showroom floor. Is this when they did somebody...
A dealer is offering this car. A dealer is offering this car. Oh, man.
Who is the dealer? Yeah. Okay, you know what? I thought it was a private owner that was making this mistake, and I can almost forgive a private person because they're just a regular schmo that owns a cool car, and what do they know about photography and stuff like that? But you're a car dealership? I mean, what the hell? This is okay. You know why there's such a bad? Okay, look at this. It's got the stupid, the old school gas tank in the background. Boomers. There it is. I'm just going on a boomer not craze. This is a bunch of old dumbass, used car salesmen. They're like, yo, Joe, we got one of them Porsches. What are we going to do with that Porsche? I heard they're bringing all the money on Bring a Trailer, or maybe we should try P-Car Market because they're our buddies over there.
Oh man!
Yeah, I mean, this is like dudes that live in a double wide, and I
my god,
people.
Too funny.
I hate these people. Reach out if you're okay. You know what? Call out to our Bid Nerds audience, the huge audience of 14. Everybody, call this dealership and make fun of them for representing this Targa so poorly. This is embarrassing. Oh boy, you're embarrassing yourself, Car Dealership X. What's the name of this car dealership? Is it in there?
It doesn't say because the handle is C Fritz. 116.
Fritz.
So that
there, of course, it's Fritz. Okay, and all right. Let's. Where's it going to land? This is a really special car.
JP
represented horribly.
3 hours to go at a Fishers, Indiana. Our star car, or not our star car, but our Targa has just 2,000 original miles on a 996 Targa with a 6-speed manual transmission. I forgot to mention this is a one car. Verify on the cars. So when the dealer is selling it, I suspect it's on consignment. It's not a no reserve. So the question is, how high did the dealer allow this consignor to set reserve before they offer to represent the car? That's part of it. It's on Bring a Trailer, though, and I think it's going to have a late flurry. JP, at 40,000, it didn't get any real love overnight because it's still at 40,000 from last night. But I think this thing's going to have a late rally. I was going to say that this car was going to bring 60 grand, but I'm going to temper that a little bit and go $55,000, and we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I might be low. It wouldn't surprise me if this went over 60 because of the mileage. And one owner, But other than that, I don't know. The dealer's not obviously doing a great job. The pictures are kind of dookie, and then this wasn't like a heralded model from Porsche on this generation on this platform. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll definitely go. I mean, look, if I think this car is going to suffer from the fact that people may have missed it. There's an audience. Somebody wants this car. I think if this car is represented right or correctly, it could be like a $75,000 car.
Absolutely.
But I think it just got passed over. It's just like, okay, normal 996 Targa with the wheels turned the wrong way. Who's going to pay attention to it? Just whoosh. There's so many cars on BAT now with 60 cars a day. It's very easy to get lost in the shuffle. So you gotta really make it pop because this car should slow the roll. This should slow the scroll as you're going through. I'm going to say that there's still going to be an audience and someone's going to get a deal at $60,000.
Okay.
And
you're taking my old bid.
It's going to get the rally at the end because it
My
still is a
sloppy
Porsche and
seconds.
it is BAT. Yeah. I'll take
My
that
bid.
one. Yeah.
All right, JP. Last but not least, let's stay on BAT, but let's jump over and go back in time a little bit. This is a 1998 Toyota Tacoma. It looks like, by all accounts, a regular cab 4x4 with a 5-speed manual. In black with kind of, I think, what do they call it? Oak cloth upholstery, which is to say it's kind of a light beige cloth. And I love the cloth interiors on these Toyotas. Don't get me wrong. They're really nice. But this car is cool. It's got just 16,000 miles. Can you imagine, John?
Wow.
Somebody owned this car for 33 years and never drove it? What the hell? I would put very knobby tires on this, and I'd probably go a little Back to the Future and do like the roll bar with the over the top of it and give it full look. I love these things. I have driven one from time to time. I don't know. They're just really neat. 2.7 liter inline 4 pair 5-speed manual. I mentioned it's a 4x4. It's out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. On 16,000 miles. I can't believe somebody resisted driving this car. I'd probably detint the windows, and that's about it. I'd drive the snot out of this thing. I want this car. This would be great to have out in Vegas. I would love to rock this thing. It's sitting at $16,000 GP. It's got 3 hours to go. One last piece, just 9 bids. Not showing a lot of love, but we know these have a special following and hold their value rather well. So it wouldn't surprise me if this car easily breaks 20 grand 3 hours from now. JP, what did I miss on this?
Yeah, not a dang thing. This is a perfect vehicle. There is no better vehicle than this. There just isn't. I mean, all around, This is the best vehicle ever made, ever. I mean, does it faster than other things? No.
Nope.
Does it handle? No. It doesn't do any of those things that you think of when you think of sports cars. But when you think of an all-around vehicle, I mean, this is the car that terrorists choose. And it's for a reason. I mean, when you're out in the middle of the desert and you have people shooting cruise missiles at you, you want a reliable vehicle. And you can get parts for these anywhere. With 16,000 miles, you have all kinds of, bombing to do. I mean, this is
when there is a worldwide hunt bid, you go off trail in your thing, and I'm going to go off trail in my Tacoma, and we're going to survive and continue to do the show. People just have to get used to that.
Yep, it's true. This is this will outlive all of us.
Take a look at a photo.
16,000 miles. Wow.
I know. Take a look at the exterior of this car, JP. I just want to point something out. And again, this is kind of in vogue for the period. But like the way the front fender and the rear fender line, it almost looks like they have gently boxed cut fender flares built into the bodywork, even though the tires come nowhere near being inside the fender wells. But I love those little design clues on what would ultimately be a boring and staid design. There is just a hint of box cut flares on this, and I just think they're really cool looking. And yes, as a 4x4 with a manual, this will go anywhere, and you could probably pour Diet Coke in the gas tank and still drive home. So there you go.
I don't know.
Don't try that at home.
I don't know if I would do what you suggested, which would be to put the roll bar in the bigger tires. Oddly enough, I mean the roll bar with the KC lights
just
on
for
it
aesthetic,
is decidedly earlier. I mean,
80s.
Yeah, that is an 80s look, and they just didn't really do that in the Tacoma. The Tacomas were kind of like the step into the next gen. This is more of a 2000 car, even though it was made in the 90s. It was kind of a millennial crossover rig, and it really was a nice design. I mean, look, unlike everything else that Toyota does and Honda does, I really don't like the aesthetics from, basically the mid 90s on, because they just started putting radiuses everywhere. Your description of the specific design cues that were built into this vehicle are spot on. They were subtle. They were enough to make it new from the earlier version, but not whiz bang and ridiculous. Nowadays, it's all about how many stupid the designers get paid for the radiuses, and it's just annoying as hell. This is the last of the perfect minimalist truck, and in the 4x4, maybe some slightly knobbier tires. That's the only
knobbier tires. That's it. And then
slightly.
JP, honestly, if I'm gonna nitpick here, I actually prefer the extended cab, not like a double cab, but like just a little bit bigger cab. I've got 3 dogs, and if we're running from the apocalypse, Esther can't hold all 3 dogs on her lap, so I need the little bit bigger cab. But this thing is
Well,
really
you
cool.
you get a canopy for the back. And then you can sleep
there you
back
go.
there and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just
He's
saying.
sweet,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So the Montana plate. Where is this car actually? It's got a Montana plate, but it's in Ohio, right?
Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. 16,000 miles, just over 3 hours to go, and it's on Bring a Trailer. JP, I said $22,000. It wouldn't surprise me if it brought 4 or more. But I don't know. That's still $6,000 away. So I don't know. Am I wrong? Where are you at?
What, did you say a number?
$22,000.
$22,000. I think this car could go.
Brings more?
Yeah, I'm gonna bet the over. I'll give you a little spread. I'll say 24. But honestly, this thing's gonna be 35.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, like I could go.
I almost bet 24, but I was like, well, I don't know. Blah, blah, blah.
I mean,
we'll see.
These are worth. I mean, with this few miles, it's gonna be in the 30s, easy. And the pictures are fantastic. Look, this is the way an amateur does photos. Look, it was a nice overcast day. You got the wheels straight. You don't have any busy, weird background. It's actually the thing about this background is it represents the car well. Yeah, because you're like, okay, this is the owner. All right, this is where it's at. You want to buy from a guy that has a place like this, and that kind of lends itself to the idea that it only has 16,000 miles, never been driven. Yeah, that's perfect. This is just done. All the pictures of all the right things. It's representing this car perfectly. The photos don't have to be like, boom, look at me, I'm a photographer, and how badass this photo is. It really just has to represent the car in a way that looks like you give a shit. Unlike the Targa that we talked about before, they put it in a grass field, that'll be artistic. Still mentioning about the stupid
16,000 miles, JP, and yet this car has had 3 owners. You would think such low miles, it's just one owner put it in a garage in their second home and never used it.
Well, how
this
long?
car's actually had 3 owners.
The 3 different owners, was it like 1, 2? Like the first guy had it for a year, second guy had it for a year, and then the last one had it for 20 something. Or it'd be interesting to look at that Carfax. We didn't look at it that deep because we do no research and we don't know what we're talking about.
Second owner got it in 2018, and then the third owner got it in 2019.
So the first owner had it for a long time, and whoever has it now only had it for a little while. Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Well, there it is, guys. This is a couple of dorks. Nerds talking about cars.
Yes.
We don't know what we're talking about. We are not experts, and we do no research. So don't listen to us. Take none of our advice, other than to hit the subscribe button right now. That is the only advice that you should take from us. The notification button and the like button, all that stuff. Give us some comments. Let us know about the cars you want us to review in the future. We do this every Monday through Friday during about the 9 o'clock hour. Bid Nerds. Michael Deeb, anything you want to say before we get the hell out of here?
Absolutely not. That's a show. It's a Monday. Go drink some coffee.
Yeah, it's definitely the start of a week. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We will see you tomorrow, Tuesday. We've got someone from Hemmings Auction coming to join us, I believe, on Wednesday, and we'll probably get some other guests in here. We're working on them as well, so look forward to Third Nerds popping up sporadically this week. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thanks, Michael D.
Thanks, buddy.